Mamdani and Trump meeting, and then after the meeting, they talked to the press. I wanted to play you a kind of an extended cut on this, just so you got a sense of it, and then I'll talk about my thoughts and also give you some, I think, pretty smart takes that I've read along the way. This is Mamdani and Trump right from the beginning talking to the press.
Well, thank you very much. We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat them easily. And I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York. And we've got them down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president. I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
Now get to the Q&A. Here we go.
Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you, and then also one for the mayor-elect.
Sure.
For you, you referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Can you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot. From when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to be. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him.
And Mr. Mamdani, it sounds like you had a productive discussion, but just days ago you referred to President Trump as a despot who betrayed the country. You said you would be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
Okay, that's a piece of what you've seen from the beginning with that Trump Mamdani addressing the press. It's interesting. I thought that this was a reasonably good take. The Mamdani magic, obviously he's a very charismatic guy. He seems unflappable. He also seems authentic. And I say seems authentic. I don't know how authentic anybody can be in politics, but I think that there is a sense that Mamdani is living the life of New Yorkers in the sense that he's connected to the average New Yorker in a way that, you know, the billionaire class, the wealthy class in New York is not. And Trump obviously represents the latter. But what was so remarkable was the way that Mamdani seemed to tame Trump, right? The ingratiating style that Trump found in dealing with Mamdani was quite extraordinary. And it was suggested as I was reading a breakdown, actually Kim sent me a breakdown that suggested that as Mamdani moves into real issues and real stakes and real governance, Trump disengages because that's not what he does. Trump is sort of a showman, not sort of, I mean, that's what he is. He's into the theater of being president, announcements, changing things, wrecking things, impulsive decision-making, ego. These are all things that drive Trump. And the Mamdani discussions of what will actually happen in New York and for New Yorkers, in a way, they don't interest Trump because that's not what Trump does. Trump doesn't do civic policy. He doesn't do governance. He does this crap. So when Mamdani is speaking and when Trump is speaking, there is a kind of a disconnect there. But that disconnect favors media because you just have Trump not able really to assert himself in the ugliness that has typified the name calling. But you find Trump frankly ingratiating himself to this guy because this guy seems to have his act together from the standpoint of popular support, immense popular support, right? He's a winner. And Trump likes to be close to a winner. And also someone who seems to understand the heavy lift associated with trying to help New Yorkers. And Trump, I think with not an appetite for real governance, still understands that this guy has tapped into something. I think whatever positive disposition Trump has toward Mamdani can change in an hour, just like all of the loyalties that Trump have can change in an hour. But I thought it was interesting that Mamdani, particularly because he seemed to be unflinching in his disposition toward everything he'd said, didn't back down, and yet didn't make these statements in a combative way, just made them in an assertive way, was able to tame Trump. As I say, play the second cut, if you will. This is the one that everybody saw, I think.
I've been focusing. I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify that your answer to Stephen Nelson, he asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you also...
That's the cut that everybody saw. That's
Ukraine.
good, Tony. Thank you. That's the cut that everybody saw. I just want to make sure you saw it too, where Trump, basically, taps out on that. So it's okay. Yeah, you can call me a fascist. It doesn't bother me. I've been called worse. But I thought the first part was instructive for the way in which Mamdani, as I say, notes some of the real issues that he's concerned with that concern New Yorkers, some of that stuff vaulting him to the mayorship, and how Trump really, seeing that Mamdani has the appetite for government and governance that he doesn't have, seems to understand the issues that vaulted him to success, beating out the institutions of politics of New York. This is a key point in my judgment. He sees in Mamdani a guy who is quacking a bit like he quacked when he was going up against the political establishment of the U.S. to become president. This system doesn't work for you. I will be your advocate. I will change things, and now the system will work for you. These guys are all of a system. I'm here to change that system. Mamdani was that kind of guy during the campaign and seems to still be that kind of guy. So he's Trumpian in that sense, from the outside coming in. Anyway, we all know what happened once Trump took power, but I'm just suggesting that there was a lot of that I think speaks to a parallel. It changes the script potentially because Mamdani was one of those guys who was really viewed as the problem with the Democratic Party is guys like this. And they were pointing, and all of a sudden, Trump seems to be best friends with this guy like this, and that might change the arithmetic. But the brilliant political analyst for iHeartMedia and also for the CBS television stations, he's with us on Mondays, Gary Dietrich, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, pal, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm just trusting, Mark, I'll get this out of the way in the first 20 seconds. I'm assuming you have not received one of the FBI letters stating that you have some wiretapping that happened associated with, the indicted former chief of staff of the esteemed governor of California. So I want to make sure you did not receive one of those letters. I want to know who I'm talking to.
Yeah, this as part of that corruption investigation is one of the things of the moment in California. It's kind of wild. I've received nothing, but there's still a long way. There's a lot of real estate between now and the end of whenever this ends. We'll see. But I wanted to just button out this Mamdani meeting with a conversation with you about why it might be significant. I was noting that the GOP mainstream anyway, MAGA nation even, like in Mike Johnson kind of guys, they point to him as this is a Democrat. Socialists, they are radical. Even as he won New York, this kind of thinking on the part of the Democrats is wrong for America. And you can see it already beginning to rise in New York. I kind of saw that as spring-loaded to happen. And then when Trump had this friendly meeting and then spoke kind of lavish praise on Mamdani, it seemed like there was maybe something of a recalculation that MAGA Nation is going to have to do in the form of Mike Johnson, in the form of these campaigns and campaign talking points that might emerge. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, let's draw out of the cedar chest. If anybody under 50 even knows what that is, the well-worn phrase of politics makes strange bedfellows. And I think you're onto something, Mark, in the outsider commonality here. I mean, Mamdani was seen as, a long shot at very best. Come on, going up against the former governor, although seriously politically damaged, Andrew Cuomo. But let's remind ourselves, too, Trump has never seen himself, nor has he been treated as a New York City insider. I mean, he has always been seen as, I don't know about outcast, that may be too strong, but he does not really identify with the political ruling classes, of not only New York City, but New York State. And so let's see where this goes. I think it's also very Trumpian that, there's a lot of lobbing of grenades when you're outside of the actual battlefield, but all of a sudden you get in the same foxhole and, hey, how's it going? And the back slapping and arm slapping. And Mamdani has shown himself capable of that as well. There's another pragmatic side of this that is exceptionally important. And Mamdani has said this himself, without federal dollars, without federal assent to some of these policies he wants to undertake, many of them have no chance of happening. I mean, and that is just a simple reality that he seems like an exceptionally smart guy and enunciates policy making well, but he's going to have not just, help from Albany and the governor. And let's see where this all takes her in the next year. She could be out herself, Governor Hochul. But, he that may be another longer look for Mamdani. Look, I might be working with a Republican governor as well as a Republican president. I can't be the complete anti-R. So we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, there's a pragmatism maybe that is part of this as well. As you say, there has to be a working relationship. Although, Trump just declared to Illinois, you're not going to get federal dollars and federal relief on storm damage. There are huge storms that affected Illinois and for Chicago. And Trump said, because you stood in the way of my ICE agents there, we're not going to get you any federal dollars. So he's certainly capable of dropping the hammer when he has to.
Oh, yeah. And look, I mean, tomorrow, all of a sudden, the F word, and by that I mean fascist, we could be hearing out of New York City again, and we could be hearing quote unquote commie out of the White House and the Republicans again. You know, campaign mode, as you know, is a different mode than governing. And everybody learns that the hard way, like it or not. Once you get through the campaign, now, as we like to say, you got to do something. Okay. And both of them, both the president and Mamdani, have to do something. Let's also remember something else. Like it or not, New York remains a pivotal center, power center of the United States, economically, and also, by the way, as you know, Mark, continues to be always high on the terrorist targeting list. You have to be careful about places like New York City and other high-profile targets. You got to have a working relationship that might need to be, called into play at a moment's notice.
It was noted in the chat. I mean, I was saying that I thought that Mamdani danced the same dance as the Trump people did, the outsider dance. You know, the institutions of politics aren't serving you. You New Yorkers have been left out, and Cuomo is perhaps definitionally an institutionalist, and that was a very Trumpian message as well. But it was noted in the chat, and I thought it was a good comment, which is that Trump also respects strength on some level. Here it is. Trump is treating Mamdani with way more respect than Senate Leader Schumer. That is interesting. This is from CC Ryder. Trump respects strength and good looks. Mamdani fits that mold. Speak to that comment, if you would.
Well, I do think there's something to that. People have often cited that concept when it comes to things like other global leaders, take it Putin or whoever else, right? But we've seen just in the first few months of the Trump administration, the first 9-10 months, one day he loves Putin, the next day he's a complete outcast, and that's, as you know, that is kind of classic Donald Trump. So let's see where this goes. You could see the Donald, as they used to call him, withhold or threatening to withhold funds from New York City for transportation or other things if Mamdani doesn't do certain things. I mean, this is Donald Trump, part of his playbook. We know that. But it does seem like both of these guys understand at some level, look, regardless of what we think politically, it's going to serve us both well if we have some kind of a working relationship.
Yeah, I think that's such a solid take. I want to get to the other news that broke when we got off the air on Friday, and that was the decision on the part of Marjorie Taylor Greene to resign from Congress. It's a pretty big decision, and it's also a pretty big piece of news given the fact that she is sort of I was calling her the Rose Parade queen of MAGA, because she really has been a loyal follower of Donald Trump and defender of Donald Trump, even through some pretty choppy water. So here's a little bit of Marjorie Taylor Greene and her announcement that she dropped on Friday. Go ahead, Tony, please.
Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest, and the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies, because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass the plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies.
Okay, that's good. To
The
give you a
House
flavor,
should
I
have
wanted
been
to
in
let it
session.
breathe a little bit so you could kind of hear the beginning. The whole thing to me plays a little like a campaign speech, but you first, and then I think there are a couple of different takes on this.
Yeah. First off, I mean, you get this right away, and then it continues through the entire message. Talk about the ultimate outsider message. I mean, she's now positioned herself, Mark, out not only outside of her own party, outside of the entire, to change and borrow a phrase from, President Eisenhower, who said military industrial complex, outside of the political industrial complex. I mean, she has put herself way outside the walls of the universe, right? And it's interesting politically what she does from here. I think most of us believe she's probably destined immediately for the likes of a CNN or a place like that to be, to critique both the Democrats and President Trump. That's what it certainly looks like. But, the hard realities for her politically were cast over the last 60 days or so. Yes, she was a close supporter of President Trump, unflinchingly so, to your point, Mark, for years, to the point where even people in her own party said, listen, you are almost clear off the reservation here in your unwavering support for Trump. But the important thing is Trump himself, as you know, Mark, in the last 10 days or so, had withdrawn his endorsement and said he was going to primary her. That was the big shoe dropping. There's no way in a state like Georgia she was going to survive a Republican primary and win a general election without the support of Trump and therefore most of the MAGA movement.
So to that, it was a gun to her head kind of decision that she made. She knew it was going to be ugly. She knew she was going to lose. And for that reason, she's resigning and hanging on that resignation. All of these hooks of, the system's broken. I'm disappointed with my party. I am a big advocate for you. And yet my party is no longer the party that I thought it was.
Yeah, well, and she look, there was no close relationship between she and Speaker Johnson, and she made that clear. So part of her challenge was re-election. That's on the election side. Part of it on just the voting and policymaking side, she wasn't taken seriously anymore, even by people in her own Republican conference and even the Freedom Caucus, who at one point tossed her out, and Pelosi, who took away her chair. I mean, her committee assignments. I mean, she had gotten so far outside the realm of the halls. I'm not sure anybody would even sit with her in the House lunchroom anymore, right? She was persona non grata, personified. That worked really well for her politically in her first couple of election cycles. But over time, you either have to deliver for your district, which is tough to do when you're in that position, or you've got to find a way. And let's see if this works out for Thomas Massie in Kentucky, to run anti-everybody and still survive politically.
The Epstein files information release, that was the big watershed politically that produced this kind of acrimony between Trump and MTG. But it was that acrimony, as you suggested, that clearly sparked in her some kind of realization that she had to make a decision in this case to resign. It's being played that this is part of a campaign for Senate. She definitely wanted to increase her national profile. I mean, I think she's one of the biggest fundraisers on the GOP side. That firebrand that she's created, Gary, it's worked for her. As you say, even as she's drifted from being relevant from a legislative standpoint. But she wants the Senate. People are suggesting, I mean, I've read stuff that, she's interested in a presidential run. Is that the 3D chess? She says no. I mean, she says right up front, no. What I said is what I mean. But it feels, based on those comments, even just the stuff that we heard, like she's laying the groundwork politically with those talking points, the way she presents, towards some kind of other aspiration.
Well, I certainly think a White House bid is is a big reach at this point for her. I mean, she's a long ways from that. Now, U.S. Senate seats in Georgia, well, those are seemingly up for grabs. At least the GOP is real serious about both of them. And could she survive a Republican primary? If there was a lot of candidates, and the vote was split, she might be able to coalesce enough of the, anti-Washington MAGA base to get there. Now, then could she win a general election in Georgia? That'd be tough. I mean, it would take a reversal now, and that's not impossible. It would take a reversal of the president, and then coming on board saying, well, you know what? Yeah, that was in the past, and we're going to get behind Marjorie to win this thing. I mean, I still think that's probably a long shot in the near term, but she made it clear during the course of her address. And I think most people believe you haven't seen the last of Marjorie Taylor Greene in some.
Right. All right. And then the last point on this is I'm hearing this. MAGA nation falling apart. They've lost their queen. I mean, there's a fracturing now. And even within MAGA, over the Epstein files, they've lost a lot of their loyalists. They've lost voters they had. This Marjorie Taylor Greene thing is a sign that MAGA nation is fracturing. Now, I would say quickly kind of what you said, which is, I don't know about that. Trump seems stronger than ever. He leaned on her, said, hey, this is what you're going to get for your disloyalty. We're going to primary you. We're going to beat you. And she, so fearing that, resigned because she knew it was going to be ugly and it was going to lead to a loss. It seems to me Trump has all the power. This lame duck thing and MAGA nation falling apart, I get it. It may happen, but I'm not seeing it quite as imminent as others.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mark. Now, look, the Epstein issue over the last couple of months, I mean, it's been going on for a couple of years, right? And the MAGA folks, many of them were the ones leading the charge early on, as you know, to release the files. And then Democrats got on board and thought it might be advantageous in terms of their attacks on President Trump and others. And of course, I think as the actual stories of the victims came out, the support for releasing the files grew and grew and grew. Republicans, as well as Democrats, geez, we saw that in the 427-1 vote last week to release the files. So that genie is left, is out of the bottle. Those Epstein files in some way, shape, or form, I mean, people are going to continue to press for their full release. But I'm not sure that's going to carry the day. It certainly upset a lot of the MAGA people. Yes, seeing what happened to MTG, some people will be upset about that. But the real focus right now, Mark, is on next November. And you've got to turn out the MAGA base in the midterms. That is going to be the sole focus. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to have any real effect on that by next summer? Probably not. In the near term, it'll have people frustrated. But come the first of the year, it's going to be all midterms all the time. I mean, there's increasing nervousness in Washington. The Republican bids for the House are not as strong as they might have been a few months ago. And make no mistake about it, I will be surprised. Let me put it this way. I would be surprised to not see Marjorie Taylor Greene out campaigning for some of these House members that she agrees with to try to help either save their seats or pick up seats in the House. That act alone would go a long way towards her political rehabilitation.
Sure, that's a great point. That would build a coalition. This real quick on the way out. Jeff says Trump is weak, a weak man, and POTUS. Look at he's a weak president, meaning look at the polls, Mark. Now, it's true. Speak to the polls. He's definitely down in the polls with popularity numbers that are lower than he's ever endured. So speak to that if you would.
Well, a lot of the stuff that's happened just recently, the Epstein files, some of that decline was part of that. Some of the decline was part of people now really, really focused. We know the big A word now, affordability. Both Republicans and Democrats are using that. People are really feeling pinched, Mark, as we come towards the holidays here. That's clearly something that's going to have to be addressed. There is a sense inside the MAGA base that Trump's focused too much on foreign affairs and foreign policy to the exclusion of domestic agendas, which is what they really have focused on for the most part during the campaign, successfully, as you know, against Kamala Harris and formerly Joe Biden. So, Trump's poll numbers, in one sense, never really seem to bother or deter him. But there is nervousness in the House that they are going to, again, I'll go back to, you got to turn out the base next November. We're less than a year away from that election. That the Republicans are going to want to see those White House poll numbers inching back up after the first of the year, or they're going to become increasingly concerned.
Yeah, that's to be continued for sure, because as you say, that'll be, a top shelf issue, right? That's the one you lead with, but there's a lot of stuff going on, man. There are a lot of moving parts these days. And the Trump administration has been a disruptor administration. So we'll see if the disruption yields any political fallout or political benefits. So appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, likewise. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your entire audience, Mark.
Thanks so much. Gary Dietrich, everybody. Find Gary on iHeartRadio. You can also find him across the CBS television station universe. And his segment is sponsored by Bill Campbell at RE/MAX Gold. If you're relocating into or from Northern California, a lot of Northern California listeners and viewers here, contact Bill Campbell at RE/MAX Gold. He's a highly respected real estate professional. Again, appreciate him sponsoring Gary's segment. Bill Campbell, RE/MAX Gold. You can text Bill or call him, 530-448-7474. 530-448-7474. Bill Campbell at RE/MAX Gold.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Wow. What a weekend. That's just part of what's happened. I've got this bizarre Kash Patel story. Did you see how he lost it over his girlfriend's SWAT security detail not showing up, leaving early? I'll have that story for you in the next hour. Also, a major announcement from a major friend of the show. J.L. Colvin is running for Congress, believe it or not. I know. Pretty cool. So J.L. will be by as well. This next segment, though, I look forward to all weekend. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.